Hello and welcome back to Rally Point, and we are here for our bi-weekly stream, which depending on where you are in the world can mean different things, but we have actually done both because we've got a fortnightly stream and we've done 2 per week, so it's a lot of Rally Point at the moment. I'm joined by Mitchell Heasty. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the world? What do you do here at CA?
Yeah, so I'm Mitchell Heasty, also known as Mitch, and I'm a designer on the new content team.
Nice, and I've also got Lawmaster himself, Andy Hall.
Hello.
And your role in the company?
I am the lead writer, I suppose, and lawmaster.
Nice. And you're an actual ex-Games Workshop employee as well?
Yes, I'm sure they're all bored of hearing about that.
Yeah,
yeah,
surely not on a law talk. This is your moment to talk about that, surely. So we are going to be talking about the Vampire Coast today, and more specifically looking at the story behind them, looking at the legendary lords, who they are, but let's start off with a nice sort of brief introduction to the Vampire Coast as a whole. Who are the Vampire Coast?
Okay, so the most famous vampire coaster, of course, is Luthor Harkon, and he's kind of our star head biller. He was basically on his way to some mysterious destination in the casket of an Empire ship when some Norscan raiders decided to attack the ship, and that was a big mistake for them, because when they all washed up on the Lustrian coast, they were all in his thrall. And pretty much he then started to create this kind of sub-empire, and many speculated he'd probably have been one of the most powerful vampires in the world, but he had a slight incident in the interior of Lustria.
Like many Warhammer characters, he
yes.
got a bit too greedy.
He did.
Yeah.
He kind of challenged the old ones. Well, he decided to try and open a chamber that didn't want, and the glyphs kind of rebounded his magic and shattered his mind.
Yeah, so he's a bit of a madman now. He has multiple personalities in control of him.
Yeah, yeah, and we've really tried to kind of play with that notion, haven't we, Mitch?
In the campaign, he's kind of got the split personality thing, so kind of every couple of turns his personality will be changing, and that'll be providing him kind of lots of different effects and stuff like that.
So it could be something like maybe one of his spells comes back.
Yeah, so obviously when he kind of went a bit crazy, he was severed from the winds of magic. And every now and then he might get a spell back, sort of like his mind kind of working just again for a split second, and then kind of a couple of turns later, then he'll just go crazy again, and he'll have kind of crazy stat changes on him. So it's really quite a dynamic campaign.
Quite a unique thing for a lord in not just in Warhammer, but any Total War game to have their role change almost every now and again. Yeah,
definitely, and it kind of plays a part of his kind of victory conditions almost. So he's kind of got this like subplot on the side, which is to mend his mind, so he's got to do a couple of things to...
He's got to find those lizard trinkets.
Exactly, yeah.
As we saw in the trailer as well, we saw him using his minions to try and grasp one of them from the Empire's clutches, and hopefully if he can find those in your campaign, he can bring himself back to his full strength.
Yeah.
So Luthor Harkon's a very, very interesting character. He's, as you can see from his animations on the screen there, he's very jaunty. Every now and again he will just switch into a completely different animation.
Twitching and stuff,
really cool, yeah. So what were his motivations in the campaign?
Well, he's like the rest. They're all going after the kind of the grand meta narrative, which is to find the star metal harpoon, which will then allow them to slay Amanar, which is a kind of the most famous of the giant beasts that dwell in the Warhammer world. Because what the vampire kind of coast characters want to do, they want to be the top dogs of the sea. And they effectively control sea monsters, and Amanar is the biggest sea monster. It's the Ferrari of the sea. Yeah. And so how do you control... If you're a vampire, how do you control something? You've got to kill it first. So you need this cool star metal harpoon, which was created by Captain Wolfheart, brother, brand new lore tidbit, brother of the Hunts Marshal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so basically...
Well, he would make a harpoon then,
He
right?
decided... The Hunts Marshal, he goes around the Empire killing monsters, and his brother went off to sea, and he was doing that, but Amanar took him out. And so now it's up to the Vampire Coast to find the star metal harpoon, use the invocations of potency to bring it up to power, and they're hidden in sea shanties.
Yeah, so that's something that we're actually going to see in-game as well. So the sort of leaderboard, as it were, of all the vampire lords and all the pirates who are competing with them for the seas. We'll see that some of them actually have that sort of arcane knowledge hidden away.
Yeah, so kind of like Andy touched on, they all kind of want to be the most infamous, and throughout your campaign with infamy, you'll be able to track and see kind of the pirates of the sea who are the most infamous. And obviously your goal is to get to the top. So there's a lot of different ways to do that.
To be the big bad dog of the seas.
Exactly,
yeah. So with Luthor Harkon especially, he has a little bit of a twinge of, I suppose, he's been implanted in this Warhammer world for a little bit with the Vampire Coast. This is now something that's controllable by the player. So we've had little twinges of him seen in the campaign before. But
yeah, I mean, he's been in the actual lore since the 90s,
yeah.
so he's a pretty well-established figure. He's just never really been covered in any great... There was obviously the White Dwarf army list way back when I used to work on White Dwarf, a long time ago. And that's kind of what we use to expand it. It was, I mean, I remember when we was doing Warhammer 1, I was banging on about Vampire Coast. They kept saying undead crabs to reach, and I think I wore him down.
Yeah,
that's why we're here now.
But the interesting thing is, of course, this is a whole DLC pack, right? So Luthor isn't just the only lord that we're going to see. We're going to have 3 different lords, one of which is completely new to the scene as well. So what was the process behind sort of selecting which lords are going to be going into the pack?
Well, we knew we wanted 4 lords because, you know, obviously with Tomb Kings and going forward, we want 4 lords. But, I mean, it's really important to yourself, wasn't it, and Rich, our lead designer, that each experience is very different.
Yeah.
So with Luthor, we have this kind of shattered minds thing. And then we have Noctilus. He's almost more of the traditional, that archetype of a vampire pirate. And then obviously we didn't want to do like 3 or 4 vampire pirates because that would get quite repetitive. So then we brought in Aranessa, also from Dreadfleet. And again, she kind of represents a whole different kind of archetype, almost that kind of Gina Davis, Cutthroat Island kind of pirate queen archetype. And also living as well, so again, slightly different from the other ones. And then, of course, we have Cylostra. Yeah,
so Cylostra's a completely new thing for the Warhammer world, something that's kind of, we've been working with Games Workshop.
It's very much been a collaboration. So I suppose the thing to say here is why Cylostra, why not probably another character from Dreadfleet? And I think something that Games Workshop established quite early on, and something we were wholly in agreement with, was that this isn't a Dreadfleet DLC. It's a Vampire Coast DLC. So while we can be influenced by Dreadfleet, and they were quite happy for us to take a couple of lords, 3 lords from Dreadfleet would actually make it a Dreadfleet supplement rather than the Vampire Coast supplement. Also, we wanted to do something... we wanted an ethereal unit, again, to create that definition between a couple of vampires. And also we wanted a caster, didn't we, Mitch?
Yeah, exactly. We wanted a second caster, which is quite important, just so you have that different, play style, basically.
And I think this is the first ethereal spellcaster that we've seen as well, which is quite interesting. So Cylostra is more than ever sort of a perfect creation for you to talk about, because you've been right at the helm of bringing her to life, or to unlife.
Yeah, I mean, we started off with a quick meeting with Games Workshop. I wrote something up, and we all kind of started running that with that, didn't we?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And the art guys came out with this cracking design.
Yeah.
We deliberately wanted to stay away from that kind of almost stereotypical female kind of shape. Everyone comes in all different shapes and sizes. So why not Cylostra? And yeah, I know you did a great introduction of her the other day.
On the Monday show.
Yeah, but you missed out a key piece of the lore. But
well, let's go from the start. Let's go from the start. Yeah. So Cylostra started life as a Bretonnian.
Yeah. She was a court singer in Bretonnia, and as kind of a treaty, kind of almost like a bribe to bring the High Elves on side. And they don't really rate treasure and gems like humans. They rate art and performance. I mean, they're kind of poets and singers and bards are the best in the world.
Wimps, right?
Yeah. And so the Bretonnian king sent his favourite court singer across the sea. And she soon kind of had the crew of the Lamprey, the ship that was taking her in her thrall, being this ultimate diva. And the captain was meek, and he would dine to her every command until the storm this massive storm, almost like a freak storm, came out of nowhere, and he finally plucked up his courage to say, we must go around it.
Yeah.
So she grabbed him by the throat and cast him off.
Yeah, didn't want to be late for the biggest performance of her lifetime, right?
So she tried to outsing the storm, because that's what you do, I guess. And she tried to make a pact with the storm. If I outsing the storm, you will let me pass. But it's a storm.
Yeah.
So it sank. And what happens after it sinks? Well, we'll keep that back for now. There's a story coming. We'll probably explain it a bit more.
Interesting. So, as you can tell, as a spellcaster, Cylostra is entwined with the magic of a new law of magic that's coming with the Vampire Coast, which is the law of the deep.
Yeah.
So, as I think you were just hinting at, what's the what's the reason for her having these powers? Why has she come back?
I don't want to tell you yet.
You don't want to tell us?
No,
Spoilers.
read the story.
It's the whole point of the stream, isn't it?
Bear in mind, she didn't just appear, back. She didn't just magically appear from the dead, knowing it. There's a reason.
So there's a special ebook coming on the way. Yeah. So would you like to talk about that a little bit?
No. Read it.
What? No, I meant when's it coming out, Andy?
When is your department got it ready?
I believe it's coming towards the end of the week.
There you go.
So it's going to be available for everyone. It's a sort of like short backstory, especially with a lord that they've never seen
it's
before.
not a novel, by the way. It's a short story.
A novella, I think it's the word. Yeah. So getting a little glimpse of the backstory behind Cylostra. But yeah, as you said, very, very interesting agreement happens between two figures that leads to Cylostra coming back. So she is now sort of on a path of vengeance almost. She's against the whole world almost. Yeah.
Against the whole world, but in particular the High Elves. I mean, to her, she's missed the show.
Yeah.
And that can't happen. So in her kind of logic, she will sink Ulfwan, which a lot of people have been trying to do recently.
Yeah. Even the island itself, really.
Even the island itself. That's what happens when you effectively live on a raft. It's not actually an island in the traditional sense. There's water underneath it. So yeah, she wants to sink it and then sing to the Phoenix King's soul.
Yeah, with undeathly concert. Yeah. So she's a very interesting character. She's definitely got a lot of interesting things that you can do with this kind of character. So how does that affect her sort of campaign playstyle?
So kind of like we tried to tie in a lore that Andy's created, kind of a little bit of everywhere really. So for example, like everyone starts with a new legendary building, but she's a little bit different. She doesn't have one in her home province. She has one actually in Lothern.
Okay.
So she has the opera house in Lothern.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So there's lots of little details like that everywhere that we just kind of try and tie in, just to kind of tie her into the world, basically.
Yeah. So the Lore of the Deep is, as we said, like a new magic lore that will be available for the Vampire Coast, and especially with the faction being called the Drowned, it's such a awesome sort of thematic link between the two, because some of the effects as well, which I'm sure everyone at home will be able to see at some point, are looking incredible.
Yeah,
huge
it's my new favourite lore.
and
No doubt about
yeah, with the introducing, we got like a sneak peek at one of them.
You did. You got you see the spell Vangeist's Revenge.
So this is a huge sort of cannon barrage from a ethereal ship that pours out the ground.
Specifically from the Shade Wraith. So even though we couldn't get all the Dreadfleet Lords in, we've brought them in different ways. And even Captain Dracula has a cameo in the game and stuff.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that and sort of the way in which that they'll become available to users? So that, for example, was a spell that almost kind of like Krell, where with a summonable ability, we're going to see him sort of appear in this huge ethereal ship and blast away.
Yeah, you won't see him personally because he's on his ship, but you'll see the Shade Wraith. And Dracula is going to be a follower for Harkon. So we're trying to tie in the lore and the IP wherever we can.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So we have two more lords to talk about as well.
We do.
And with, I'd say these two are definitely a little bit more interesting in their perspective on the world, whereas Noctilus is probably a bit more, as you said, a traditional, I am a vampire, sort of, he's quite an interesting character, but he's also quite a big bad in the, especially in the Dreadfleet world.
He is. He's a proper tanky admiral. He's got the cap, and and the beard, the metal beard, obviously.
Yeah, almost Pharaoh-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's almost like, well, Harkon's kind of crazy. He's almost if you want to play as a rock-hard vampire admiral, he's the guy, isn't he, Mitch?
Yeah, he's got kind of everything associated with that. He's got the correct star pods for that, you know, in the Galleon's graveyard, obviously tying into Dreadfleet a bit there. Yeah, all of his kind of buffs are all about kind of being the biggest, baddest pirate.
Yeah, so the video preview that we have of the Lords here is actually on the battle map for Galleon's Graveyard as well. So you're going to see all the broken ships and storms and vortex tornadoes coming out.
Shadow magic user as well.
Shadow magic user as well. Interesting.
Well, he's got a mixture of different lords, hasn't he? But obviously, in his backstory, he used shadow magic to transport his castle, Count Ducula style, across from Sylvania. Into the Galleon's graveyard.
So who is Noctilus? What's his story?
So basically he started life as Nicholas von Carstein and quickly realised that he was basically in a place where the competition was too much. You trip over a von Carstein in Sylvania.
Even Kemmler's left. He's gone off to Bretonia, isn't he?
Exactly. So he decided that the biggest area for expansion and power was the sea. So he did a lot of digging, as these vampires tend to do. Manfred was very, very much a researcher. And so was Nicholas. And he raised up everyone he'd previously killed and got them to do this strange kind of spiral living sigil, or unliving sigil. And then he used shadow magic to transport his castle to create the Bloody Reaver in the Galleon's graveyard.
Yeah, it's a good point with the Bloody Reaver as well. Each of the lords has a very unique kind of ship model on the campaign map, so they all look very distinct and super special.
And something that's quite distinct about Noctilus as well is that, of course, he's in a brand new region on the map, which is slap bang in the middle of the ocean, all 4 continents available to him, which is really interesting stuff.
Really opening stuff.
You can just choose to go wherever you want. It's total freedom. And obviously they have their ships, the ship mechanic we have as well. So you can just sail off somewhere. You can kind of forget about everything you've left behind if you want, and just go wherever you want and be a real pirate.
I know there's a sub category of Total War players that like to do sort of like nomadic starts where they just will. So
but with the Vampire Coast, you take your capital with you.
Yeah,
I think that's really, really clever, and you can build up your ship and everything.
Yeah, so that's not something we've spoken about that much. So the capital ships almost of your faction.
Yeah, they're your flagships basically. I mean, you kind of wouldn't be a pirate without one, right? So very early on we kind of knew that we wanted to kind of get like something like this in. So the horde mechanic was kind of perfect, and we adapted that now into this kind of flagship mechanic.
Yeah, so the way it works is your legendary lords are going to have access to this completely new building panel, which is going to be like their mobile fortress, right? It's moving around and spawning units on the fly, and then also it's linked to your ultimate quest, because you need that harpoon launcher on your ship to be up to the standard of the Star.
Yeah, so each of the lords has a selection of buildings that are kind of nautical themed, you know, so you can build your mast up or whatever, or you can, like you just said, you can build your harpooner launcher up, which ties into the story. Obviously go and collect the harpoon, and that's what ultimately you need to build up to go and take on Ammonar.
So it's definitely an interesting start pos. If you want to go for a bit more of an open play, if you want to really choose, because we've got them quite spread out, as we like to do. We like to make sure that there's loads of nice and varied start positions. So Cylostra is up near Alpha 1 and
she's near the Serpent Seas.
The Serpent Seas is where she starts, so she can kind of go towards Nagaron if you want, somewhere like that, or she can go down to Lizardmen, or maybe she could even go to the Galleon's graveyard and take on Noctilus if she wanted.
Whereas Luthor is right on the eastern coast, where you would expect, because you've seen the Vampire Coast models before, but the eastern coast of Lustria. And then our final lord, of course, is planted right in Sartosa.
Aranessa.
As she should be. So she was pretty much running Sartosa, or she's certainly one of the most powerful lords there.
So Aranessa Saltspite.
And so she's kind of a living lord, and she obviously, as a lot of people have surely seen, that she gets access to kind of a limited amount of mortal units to reflect that she is still living. However, we also needed her to access the Vampire Coast roster. That should be really limited. So we've kind of, again, with Workshop's kind of blessing, we've utched kind of a backstory along a little bit. And so the Sea Father, who is her dad, maybe, has been kind of, he's requested that she basically take over the oceans.
Right.
And to do that, she needs more permanent crew rather than these fleeting
pirates. Yeah.
living. So she's made a pact with the vampires. Now, a lot of people will probably say, well, she's a good guy, isn't she? And she's absolutely not. I mean, even in her background in Dreadfleet, she's merciless. She's one of the cruelest people on the oceans. So having a treaty with vampires is totally within her kind of purview. Yeah. And so you kind of get a slightly different flavour. And of course, you know, she's an absolute kick-ass.
Yeah, so she has an incredibly interesting player model as we were looking at on Monday. So, what is the story behind all these sort of strange mutations that she has?
Pretty gruesome, right?
Yeah, well, she was kind of born to Norsekins, who basically threw her into the sea as soon as she was born. She was born with this kind of spiky, ugly fishtail.
Yeah.
So they thought she was kind of an abomination. But then she was escorted by these kind of daggerfish to this island, and where she spent her kind of formative years, and where stuff got washed up to her. So she learnt about the world through all these kind of shipwrecks, bringing her goods and everything. And we've kind of worked that into her current background as well. It's like, where does all these mysteriously all these dead bodies keep getting washed up against the bow of a ship? And yes, so she basically amputated herself and replaced her stumps with sawfish legs, as you do in Warhammer.
Yeah. What else would you use?
And then eventually left, found the swordfish, which is her ship, and basically over the years became the captain, and then became the Scourge of the Seas, probably one of the most powerful pirate lords there is out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a pirate DLC.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're one of the most powerful pirate, living or dead, in it.
And she's got quite a sought-after start position. A lot of players have been asking to play as Sartosa.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a nice little start pos as well. So whereabouts does Sartosa sit in the world map?
So in the Vortex campaign, it's kind of really on the far side, on the right. Or the east, as you should say.
It's sort of in between Tomb Kings and Ulthuan almost, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a really kind of key kind of choice to make early on. Do I want to go north to the High Elves and Ulthuan, or do I want to go south to the Tomb Kings and kind of in the desert? So, yeah, again, it's kind of up to the player really, in a really pirate fashion. Wherever you want to go, you can go.
Yeah, it's going to give Cetra something to worry about, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the 4 legendary lords that we have available to us, but there's still plenty to talk about with the Vampire Coast. One of the most interesting things being some of the wacky creations that they have under their grasps. So we've seen some incredible, huge monsters. We've seen some incredible units such as the Necrofex Colossus being an absolute favourite, and these are some of the machinations they have in us. But one of the most interesting ones, I think, is Queen Bess herself. The backstory of Queen Bess, I think, is definitely something we should talk about.
Well, it basically came from an Imperial Hammerhead. So people probably as old as me will be familiar with Man of War, which was a Warhammer naval game back in the day. And you used to get the Hammerhead ships, which were basically a giant cannon with a sail and a little bit of a hull around.
Floating cannon, yeah.
So Harkon's kind of minions, sailors, caught that, and they turned it into this massive, well, the biggest cannon we've ever done to date.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's huge. I mean, nothing compares to this, basically.
We were, right at the end of Monday's stream, we wanted to show off Queen Bess firing,
right.
And we saw someone in chat saying, "Oh, you've cut off the VFX a bit." It's like, we can't fit it on screen. It's such an enormous cannon. Yep. It takes up the entire screen when you're trying to show it. Yeah. But this thing's actually kind of broken down quite a few times, and it's sort of falling apart. But Luthor just keeps on tinkering.
It kind of sums up Vampire Coast troops. They're all broken down, and they're using damp powder, and half of them can't see, half of them have got mollusks for brains. So yeah, it kind of suits that. They're obviously a ranged force, but they're not. These are high elves.
Yeah.
They're not very accurate.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like the balancing between them, isn't it? They're very, very good at bringing a lot of firepower.
Saturation,
won't
basically.
necessarily hit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So lots of interesting stuff with vampires. Is there any sort of nice little tidbits that you want to bring out that people might not know about them, or some of the lords that they have? What are the most interesting little bits that you want to show off, I guess?
You take orders from a monkey.
You take orders from a monkey.
That's a good point, yeah. I mean, like when you think of pirates, right, you think of powder monkeys, you know? And kind of early on, I can't remember who it was, it might have been you, Andy, but someone said powder monkey.
It was actually Games Workshop.
Was it Games Workshop? They're like, how'd you get a powder monkey in the game? So
Yeah, we just made it an undead taxidermy monkey.
Nice.
With an evil soul living inside it.
What's his name? I just remembered.
Symbols.
Symbols, that's the one, yeah.
I'm not going to... I'll let people work that out.
Fantastic. Any others? Any other little
Go on,
tiny
Mitch.
shreds?
What we got?
Oh, jeez. Trying to think, really. Amanar, he's pretty cool.
Amanar will actually affect the campaign map quite a bit.
He will, yeah. I mean, I would say kind of keep an eye out for Amanar. I don't want to spoil too much, but...
he's out there.
He's out there for sure.
Definitely out there. Sometimes he'll be right there.
He'll be right there sometimes.
An ancient giant merwine.
Yeah.
You're sharing the oceans with him.
Yeah,
and he knows you're after him.
We were reading up a little bit on Amanar, and he's kind of linked to the High Elves a little bit.
Yeah, he's actually in the High Elf book as one of the magic items is the scale of the merwine, and it's Amanar. And traditionally he was kind of the guardian of Lothan, but then he went to sleep for a while. And this is how we kind of tie it into the Vortex map. So we always like, even if you're a race that's not directly involved with the Vortex kind of plot / race,
still affected.
We always
the
like
events.
to kind of kick things off.
Yeah.
So with the Tomb Kings, it was the appearance of the comet kind of activated the Black Pyramid. And so here, basically the Vortex being all askew and all discordant has woken Amanar. So that's why there's now an opportunity to go hunt him.
Yeah.
Or him hunt you.
Yeah, and Amanar's he's a bit cranky because he's definitely causing some havoc at the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, lots of interesting information. We've got plenty of gameplay to come as well. We also had a brief announcement today, quite a big one as well. The Free LC Lord has been announced, so we should probably have a little shout out about that. So, a new Lord for the Dark Elves, Andy.
He is, and he's probably one of my favourites actually.
Really?
Because he's almost like the Indiana Jones of Dark Elves. So, because he's kind of dashing and charming. He has the daring leap ability. And if you want a dark elf, he'd actually be quite a cool guy. But he is a dark elf, so he's still evil.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But you know, he embodies a certain honour. His crew isn't actually trying to actively kill him; they respect him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got a really cool black arc, hasn't he? Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I was going to say is he looks amazing. He's got probably the coolest
Huge
mask.
octopus mask,
Just a
which
huge octopus
I
mask.
love,
Octopus,
absolutely love.
Octopus,
Kraken, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
squid,
Squid?
Kraken. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Same thing, right?
Sure.
Octopus. No.
Yeah.
Tentacles.
Yeah, he looks amazing, and in the campaign, obviously Black Arcs is going to be his focus, and he's got a unique Black Arc that he starts with. And
Nice.
Tower of Blessed Dread.
that looks amazing as well. It's all kind of got kind of his mask embodied on the front of it, and it just looks amazing.
And you can fight on it.
You can, yeah.
Yes, you can. But more on that soon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching Rally Point. We have been talking about the Vampire Coast lore. If you'd like to learn more, hit up Steam and search for The Curse of the Vampire Coast, where there's loads of information about some of the gameplay mechanics you have available to you. Yep. As I said, loads of gameplay coming up. We've also got the Ever Chosen this weekend.
I'll be there.
Exciting.
You will be there for even more campaign info.
more
We're
campaign
really
on
going to be
Sunday.
dishing out the info there.
Are you playing it on Sunday?
I hope not. 'Cause they're all elite players playing, so I hope I don't have to play against them.
But we're going to be showing Vampire Coast in multiplayer battles. We're also going to be talking about in depth some of the mechanics that you'll be playing with, and all kinds of good stuff to come. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Wheels. This has been Mitch and Andy. We'll see you soon. And remember, see you soon.